I loved him. Not casually, not temporarily. I loved him in the quiet moments, in the days when nothing special happened. I loved him in a way that made the future feel safe. And that's why what he said next broke something inside me. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He just looked at me and said, "I'm getting married." Not to me, to someone else. And in that moment, I realized something painful. You can love someone with everything you have and still not be the one they choose. I met him when my life was quiet. Not perfect, just steady. I had stopped believing in dramatic love stories, the kind you see in movies. I believed in comfort, consistency, safety. And then he walked into my life like he had always been meant to be there. We met through a mutual friend. Nothing romantic, no sparks, no fireworks, just conversation. Real conversation. He listened when I spoke, really listened, not waiting for his turn to talk. He remembered small things, my favorite coffee order, the song I always skipped, the way I hated being interrupted. It didn't feel like falling. It felt like arriving. We started spending time together slowly. Lunches, walks, long drives with music playing softly. There was no rush, no pressure. And somehow, that made it deeper. I trusted him before I even realized I did. We never labeled what we were. Not at first. We didn't need to. He would show up when I needed him. I would stay up late just to hear about his day. We laughed easily, the kind of laughter that feels effortless. We argued, too, but never cruelly. Even in disagreement, there was respect. He knew my fears, my past heartbreaks, the way I protected my heart by pretending I didn't care too much. And I knew his fear of commitment, his fear of disappointing his family, his fear of not being enough. We were two people carrying invisible baggage, finding comfort in each other. And somewhere along the way, I fell in love, deeply, quietly, completely. But I didn't say it, not because I didn't feel it, but because I was afraid to be the first. So I waited. There were signs, small ones. Moments where he pulled away slightly, times he changed the subject when the future came up. He would say things like, "Life is complicated," or, "I don't know what I want right now." And I told myself love needs patience. I told myself he just needed time. When he mentioned his family's expectations, I listened, but didn't fully understand. They wanted stability, tradition, someone who fit a picture. I thought love would be enough. I thought if he felt the same way I did, nothing else would matter. That was my mistake. Love doesn't always win. Sometimes, fear does. The distance didn't happen overnight. It crept in quietly. Texts became shorter. Calls became less frequent. He was still kind, still respectful, but something was missing. The warmth, the effort. When I asked him if something was wrong, he smiled and said, "Nothing, I'm just busy." And I wanted to believe him, so I did. I didn't want to be the woman who demanded clarity, who pushed too hard. I thought giving him space would bring him closer. Instead, it created a gap neither of us knew how to cross. The day he told me was ordinary. No dramatic setting, no warning. We were sitting across from each other, coffee growing cold between us. He avoided my eyes, and in that moment I knew, before he even spoke. "I need to tell you something," he said. My heart sank. "I'm getting married." The words didn't make sense at first. They floated in the air, empty, wrong. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because my body didn't know how else to react. "Married?" I repeated. He nodded. To someone his family approved of, someone he had known for a short time, someone who fit the life he thought he needed. I felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. I didn't cry, not then. I just sat there, trying to understand how someone could love you and still choose someone else. After that day, everything went quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, the kind that presses on your chest and refuses to let you breathe. No more good morning texts. No, did you get home safe? No late night calls where time disappeared because hearing his voice felt like home. Just silence. And silence is louder than anger, louder than arguments, louder than goodbye. At first, I told myself it was temporary, that he just needed space, that love doesn't disappear overnight. I checked my phone more times than I want to admit. Every vibration made my heart race. Every notification that wasn't his felt like another small disappointment. Morning came, then night, then morning again. Still nothing. I replayed every memory in my head, every laugh, every promise, every moment he looked at me like I mattered. I replayed every conversation, searching for the exact sentence where everything went wrong. Did I say too much? Did I ask for too much? Did I love him too openly? Was I not enough, not brave enough, not patient enough, not convenient enough? The questions became endless, and slowly, quietly, I turned the blame inward. I told myself if I had been better, he would have stayed. If I had been easier to love, he wouldn't have chosen silence. That's what heartbreak does. It doesn't just break your heart. It makes you doubt your worth. It makes you feel like love is something you failed at. And the hardest part wasn't missing him. It was missing who I was, before the silence taught me how small I could feel. I found out by accident. A normal day, a quiet scroll, a moment that changed everything. There it was, him in a suit, standing tall, smiling the same smile he used to save for me. Her in white, radiant, certain, chosen. The caption said something simple. Forever starts today. And just like that, the air left my lungs. I stared at the screen longer than I should have. People filled the comments with joy. Perfect couple. True love always wins. Meant to be. Each word felt like a reminder that I was nowhere in this story. It felt like my pain didn't exist. Like our late night talks had never happened. Like the promises he made were erased without explanation. I zoomed into the photos, not because I wanted to see them, but because I needed proof that it was real, that he had chosen someone else so completely. I wasn't angry. I was invisible. And that hurt more than losing him. Because losing someone is painful, but being erased, that's a different kind of wound. It made me question if what we had was ever real, if I had imagined the love, if I had imagined the connection, if I had imagined being important to him. That night, I cried in a way that was quiet but deep, the kind of crying that doesn't ask for comfort, the kind that just needs to happen. Healing didn't come quickly. It didn't arrive with clarity or peace or sudden strength. It came slowly, unevenly, painfully. Some days I felt okay. I laughed. I functioned. I told myself I was moving on. Other days I broke down in grocery store aisles because a song played overhead, and suddenly I was back in his car, laughing like nothing could touch us. Grief doesn't move in a straight line. It circles back. It surprises you. It shows up when you think you're done. I learned to stop judging myself for it. I stopped pretending I was fine when I wasn't. And slowly, I stopped romanticizing the past. I stopped focusing on who he was when things were easy. I started seeing the truth. He loved me, yes, but not enough to choose me, not enough to fight for me, not enough to risk discomfort, not enough to stand still and say, "This is the one." And for a long time, I thought that was my failure. Until one day, it wasn't. One day, I realized his inability to choose was not a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of his fear. Fear of commitment. Fear of responsibility. Fear of choosing one person and standing by it. Understanding that didn't erase the pain, but it loosened its grip. And for the first time, healing felt possible. I wrote him a message one night. It was late. The world was quiet. My thoughts were loud. I didn't plan to write it. My fingers just moved. I told him everything I never said. I told him how deeply I loved him, how choosing him felt natural, how I would have stayed through the hard parts without hesitation. I wrote, "I loved you with everything I had. I would have chosen you every time. But love shouldn't feel like waiting to be picked." I stared at the message for a long time. My thumb hovered over send. I imagined his reaction, his silence, or worse, his polite reply. And in that moment, I realized something important. I didn't need him to understand for my truth to be real. So I deleted the message. Not because it didn't matter, but because I mattered more. Some truths don't need to be spoken to be valid. Some closures don't come from conversations. They come from acceptance. I learned that love is not just about feelings. It's about courage. About choosing someone even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it's scary. Even when it asks more of you. I learned that silence can be a decision, and that unanswered messages are sometimes answers. I learned that walking away from someone you love can be an act of self-respect. I don't hate him. I wish him peace. I truly do. But I no longer wish he had chosen me. Thank you for listening. Because now I understand something I didn't back then. Subscribe to the channel for more meaningful, love that has to be begged for stories is not love meant to stay. One day, someone will choose me without hesitation, fully, openly, without fear. And when that happens, I'll know the wait was worth it. This is not a story about losing love. It's a story about finding myself again, about learning my value when someone else couldn't see it, and choosing myself, even when my heart didn't want to. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel for more meaningful, true life stories.